Good afternoon. It is with honor and sadness that I welcome you to the Dr. William Bill Jenkins Memorial Special Session. In February 2019, we said goodbye to a public health giant who has impacted the epidemiology section, APHA, CDC, and the nation in an extraordinary way. Bill Jenkins was a guiding force in instilling the importance of learning and utilizing the tools of epidemiology and biostatistics to examine health disparities. But more than that, he inspired numerous students and colleagues to become change agents and do something about these health disparities and injustices. Who else do you know who could have been instrumental in getting a sitting president to acknowledge the injustices of the Tuskegee study? While we mourn this incredible loss, we will celebrate the life he lived, the contributions he made, and the legacy he has built to continue these efforts. We have many in the audience today who have benefited from the accomplishments of Dr. Bill Jenkins. At this time, I'm asking all of Bill's former students to please stand and remain standing. Would all of those who have participated or collaborated in any of the programs Bill started, please stand. Former or current members of SAFI, please stand. Those who were mentored by Bill, please stand. Those who work with Bill at CDC, please stand. Those who served with Bill in some capacity at APHA, please stand. And finally, those who loved Bill Jenkins, please stand. Look around you. As you can see, Bill's endeavors have reached many. All of us are thankful, and the nation is a better place because Dr. Bill Jenkins and his legacy, the legacy he has built. You may be seated. At this time, I want Dr. Diane Raleigh to join me at the podium. Diane, this plaque is presented in memory of Dr. William Bill Jenkins in recognition of his lifetime commitment to epidemiology and in teaching so many to ask the right questions. Presented by the Epidemiology Section APHA on this 4th day of November 2019. Laurie Elam Evans, Chair, Tiffany Gary Webb, Chair-elect.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. My name is Diane Raleigh.
You're a little bit shorter than
I was married to Bill Jenkins for 35 years. He was not only my husband, but my colleague and some work. He was a pain to work with. And he was my best friend. So I'm really filled with happiness and sadness at the same time. And one of the things that Laurie and I talked about, and she did a great job of putting this together. Thank you, Laurie, for all your dedication. The last project that Bill worked on was the book that Chandra and co-editors published on racism. Science and tools for public health professionals. Hot off the presses, the APHA presses. And what we decided to do was, for this session, I'll give a brief talk about aspects of Bill's career. Then Chandra will give you an overview of the content of the book. And Bill was the first author of the first chapter of the book on some of the historical background in looking at racism in public health. And I will give just snippets from that chapter. Now, I've been a presenter and moderator at APHA for a number of years, and I was always very careful about my timing, making sure I ended on time and kept everybody else to time. And I threw that out of the window today, so with a point of privilege, I'm just going to say what I have to say. It may take a little bit longer than 10 minutes for each talk. And then we're going to save questions until the end of the presentations, and it'll be sort of an open mic where you can comment on anything you might want to say around racism in public health or Bill's work or future work that people are focusing on. The other presenter, Chandra Ford. And I'm going to ask Chandra, when she gets up, to add anything to the introduction that I'm going to make about her. And I'm reading this from the APHA website. Chandra is an assistant professor in the Department of Community Health Sciences in the School of Public Health at UCLA. Her research includes both conceptual and empirical contributions and targets the intersections of race, gender, and sexuality relative to health outcomes. Most of her research investigates the contribution of racial and other social inequities to HIV/AIDS disparities. Additional areas of expertise include critical race theory and health disparities among sexual minority populations. And as I said, she will come right after me, after I talk about Bill's career, and then I'll end the session with a summary of parts of the chapter that Bill wrote. So let's get started. I know everything except how to start. Okay. The following personal financial relationships with commercial interests relevant to this presentation existed during the past 12 months. I have no relationships to disclose. I'm going to read this so that I don't get emotionally involved in this talk. William Carter Jenkins was born on July 1945 in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. He was delivered by Rosella Wilson, his grandmother, and also the local midwife. Fondly known as Billy, he grew up with two rich cultural heritages. In his youth, he resided in the Gullah Geechee community of his maternal family in Mount Pleasant, but also spent time in the rarefied old Charlestonian houses and businesses owned by the Jenkins family. In the 1940s and 50s, Bill's neighborhood in Mount Pleasant was an isolated Gullah fishing village off the coast of Charleston. The Gullah Geechee are a distinctive group of Black Americans from coastal South Carolina, Georgia, and northern Florida. They live in small farming and fishing communities along the Atlantic coastal and on the same chain of sea islands which run parallel to the coast. Because of their geographical isolation and strong community life, the Gullah have been able to preserve more of their African cultural heritage than any other group. They speak a Creole language similar to what's heard in Sierra Leone, use African names, tell African folk tales, make African-style handcrafts, such as sweetgrass baskets. Bill's maternal grandfather fought for the Union Army during the Civil War and was mustered out to one of the Sea Islands in South Carolina. Bill was the great-nephew of Reverend Daniel Jenkins, a businessman, Baptist minister, and founder of the Jenkins Orphanage in 1891. At the end of the 19th century and during the first 4 decades of the 20th century, the Jenkins family owned several businesses and a local newspaper. In January of 1892, Reverend Jenkins petitioned the city for the use of the abandoned Marine Hospital on Franklin Street and received permission to use it for his orphanage, and he received a small stipend. Bill always told a story about how at the turn of the century, when the children of the orphanage were caught up in a tuberculosis epidemic, the attending physician recommended that they play wind instruments as part of their treatment. After collecting used instruments and recruiting music teachers, the program eventually morphed into the Jenkins Orphanage Band. Ever the businessman, Reverend Jenkins dressed them in discarded Citadel uniforms and toured the band throughout the United States and England to raise money to support the orphanage. The band's downtown Charleston street performances showcased one of the boys conducting the band with the Geechee-style dance moves that eventually became known as the Charleston. Bill and his older brother were driven across what he described as a scary, rickety bridge from Mount Pleasant to Charleston to attend the Immaculate Conception School of Charleston. It was a Catholic school for African-American children, and Bill described it as an elitist place for mulatto families. But after scoring exceptionally high on the SAT when he took it at the end of his sophomore year and got offered a scholarship to Ohio State, his parents allowed him to return to Mount Pleasant and spend his last 2 years of high school at his beloved Lang High, where his mother and grandmother had graduated. Lang is a place steeped in Quaker tradition and Gullah heritage, and is the source of his initial exposure to Quakers, and where he ultimately became a Quaker. In the fall of 1963, Bill enrolled as a freshman at Morehouse College in Atlanta. He adopted his now well-known name of Bill that he used for the rest of his life, and he was forced to take speech every Saturday for 2 years to eliminate his Gullah accent. He graduated with a degree in mathematics in 1967, received his master's in biostat from Georgetown University in 1974, a master's in public health from UNC at Chapel Hill in 1977, his PhD in epidemiology from UNC in 1983. He completed a postdoc in biostatistics at Harvard University in 1987 and received an honorary doctorate degree from the Medical University of South Carolina in 2011. When he graduated from UNC with his PhD, he was probably the fourth African American in the United States to have a PhD in epidemiology. Now his classmate, Jerome Wilson, disputes that because Jerome was an epidemiologist at NIH for years and said that he finished first. I like Bill's version. It's impossible for me to disentangle two aspects of his personality that drove his career. He was a scientist in love with epidemiology. One of his favorite memories that he talked about was when he discovered epidemiology as a graduate student in biostatistics. He said he would sit entranced in the epi course that took place after lunch and was taught by the most boring professor he'd ever had. So boring, all the other students would just cry thinking about going to class. But I probably heard him tell the story 1,000 times of how excited he used to be every time he went to that class. But he was also fiercely dedicated to social justice issues. That began when he was a teenager involved in voter registration in Charleston. And early in his stay at Morehouse, he was a foot soldier with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He was jailed with John Lewis for demonstrating against segregation in front of a restaurant owned by Governor Lester Maddox. As a scientist, his approach to social justice used the scientific process. He applied that knowledge to looking for solutions to social dilemmas that influenced the health of populations. There was no separation between his intelligence as a biostatistician, who evolved into an epidemiologist,